might be cute.
Well, I don't want you to have a picture of my knock roast sticking out of my nose.
If you need to get up and go to the bathroom, you can
Yeah.
shake
Oh,
a
yeah.
leg or something. You can
No
turn off
doubt. I'm using a suppository.
Raise your hand like we used to in school, you know.
Teacher!
Teacher.
So just a little bit closer together if you can. Be a better picture. Okay.
Okay.
So
I can manage it.
who's going to go first?
You.
Who's going to go first about getting born?
Oh, all right,
Well,
I'll
they
go
should
first.
say their names,
Okay.
or you should introduce them.
This is my mother, Lola Benedetti. And what is your middle name?
Actually, I have 4, so you can have a choice. It's Lillian, Lola, Ella, Maria. But my grandmother always called me Lola, so everybody else did, and my second name stuck.
Nobody ever called you Lillian?
The priest, because he had baptized me, and he knew it was Lillian.
Oh.
As a matter of fact, my baptismal certificate reads Lillian. And
So-
I think my birth certificate reads Lillian Lola.
So where were you born and so on?
I was born February 2nd, 1918, just at the end of the, or rather, it was still going on, the influenza epidemic, which killed thousands of people. We were lucky.
That's right.
Our family was very lucky. None of them were touched. But I was born in Chicago. I still remember the address, 2344 South Oakley Avenue. Up on the 3rd floor, Dr. Mirabella attending, and my great aunt Natalina tied my umbilical cord, which she always told me she did. Except she didn't tie it tight enough. I've always had a paunch. And I went to grammar school at Pickard. And
But was there a special, in some cultures, the person who ties the umbilical cord is a special person, and like the American Indians call them the natal aunt.
well, in a way, she was a natal grandmother, because my grandmother died at a very young age. So in a sense, she was my grandmother. I always called her Nonna, you know.
Hmm.
And she always looked upon me as one of her grandchildren. So that was quite nice. And then, of course, I went to Harrison High School and worked like a beaver to graduate in 3.5 years, because I thought I was going on to college. And I did win, was awarded a scholarship to the University of Chicago. But in the meantime, my father had lost his business. He was in the art embroidery business on fancy clothes, and of course nobody was buying fancy hats and clothes during the Depression.
I remember we had that medal from the School of Fine Arts in Florence, was it, that he had won for embroidery?
Yes.
Hmm.
He was quite an artist. I think you, Bob, and Ben, and Tyler too, probably. He sent me a little picture that he made.
Yeah.
You couldn't tell much, but he has the artistic temperament. So, well, then at just about the time I was going to graduate, I had met Dino, and we started dating, but always in a group. We were a group called the Lucky Eight, and we'd go on torture rides, which all of us stuffed into one car.
That's not what your father used to call us.
Oh yeah, he
He
used
used to
to,
call us the ganga del corpo shorto.
which means the diarrhea gang.
Well, now go back to when you were little. You skipped over that quite a bit.
Well,
you
Tell her
had
about the parties that you used to give.
you had a
Don't
brother.
bring presents, just bring money.
Oh yeah, my mother always was big on birthday parties, for all of us, and she had sent me to invite like my aunt and so on, and I went to invite Tia Saida, and she always says that I told her, don't bring presents, bring money. I guess.
How old were you then?
I don't even remember, so I must have probably been maybe, 4, 5 at the most.
And you had an older brother?
Yes, I had a brother, and as a matter of fact, can you hold up? I was thinking that maybe I should have the little pictures of my parents.
Yeah, I was
Sure, I can do that.
That would be a good
Oh,
idea.
You bet, go ahead.
Okay.
So,
Now,
who do we have there?
we were married, let's see, after I graduated high school, of course, it was almost impossible to get a job, but I did manage to find a job at National Biscuit Company for the magnificent sum of 35 cents an hour, and it was a swing shift type deal, so that 1 week you work days, 1 week evenings, 1 week nights, and all the way through. And I guess I couldn't take it because I got scarlet fever. And
When was that? What year was that?
I was about 17 when I got scarlet fever. And it took a while to get, back on my feet. And
But
then,
you had graduated from high school at that
oh yes,
point.
because I finished high school in 3.5 years because we were
Ah.
going to go to college and all that stuff, and then it didn't pan out for us. So.
But
my
you
dad
skipped
couldn't
over
afford the
going.
7 cents for car fare.
Yeah.
You skipped over going to Pickard School and going up with Louis and
Yeah, well.
all of that.
Let's see, when we were in Pickard School, of course, the only thing I really vividly remember is when they would flood the playground, and
So
I
we
would
could
try.
ice skate.
Yeah, I would try to ice skate, but
That's what I was
I
telling
guess
her
I
this
always
morning.
had weak ankles because I was always skating along on the ankles instead of the feet, and.
Do you remember anything about the neighborhood, how the neighborhood was at that time?
Well, the neighborhood was pretty close. Everybody actually was kin, in a sense, because if you misbehaved, your mother heard about it very quickly. As a matter of fact, the women didn't think anything of maybe chastising you on the spot, and it was always a very, very closely knit.
And isn't it true that a lot of the people were actually from the same part of Italy? I mean,
Oh, yes.
You were...
Oh yes, they called them paesani because paese means the
Towns,
little town, so that
like Chiesina, where you
was
were.
a paese, and all of the people that came from Chiesina were paesani. But then there were a lot that came from the neighboring towns, which really, if you remember, they were almost all within walking distance.
Yeah.
And because my mother was in Monte Carlo, which isn't very far from Marginone, where my father was. And although they didn't know each other in Italy, they met here. And here are my mom and dad, and this one is of their wedding, and the one on this side is of their 25th anniversary.
I have to go slow so
Well,
the camera can
having
respond.
known her mother in later years, you remember how she was. She was quite hefty. She weighed 110 pounds when she got
And
married.
they were married, yeah. And then, well, I think they were at the 25th wedding anniversary. She was running over 200.
Oh, yeah.
Is that the silver set you gave them?
Yes,
Looks
I
like-
think so. Uh-huh. Yeah,
Yeah, she was a beautiful bride.
yes. She was always a very beautiful woman. And my father was very,
Very
handsome,
handsome,
too.
very.
Unfortunately, he died at 59. He never even made his 60th birthday.
1952, I still remember
he
the
never
day.
made his 60th birthday.
We were on our way to Michigan that morning,
Yeah,
and Bob, when we got to 47th Street and Harlem Avenue, Bob says, I don't think we ought to go.
Yeah, because we had brought him to the hospital and,
I said that?
Yeah,
yeah,
so we turned around and went back home.
and it's lucky we did. because
Next
he
morning,
did-
he passed away.
He passed away the next morning.
Hmm.
So do you have any other special memories of, or not, just ordinary memories of
Scooch
life
over
in
a
the,
little bit.
in
Yeah.
that neighborhood where you grew up? Who
Well-
were some of your special friends? and-
Yes, well, we had, Mary, of course, was a special friend who later married my brother.
And she was Hungarian American.
Yes, this was a Hungarian family that had moved in, and they had bought this house, and at that time, we really were up a creek, and we had rented the top floor, actually the second floor, and they lived under the first floor. And she and Lorraine and Olga and we all hung around together,
You were, both families were renting from somebody else?
No, they had bought that house,
Oh.
the Doros.
Ah.
They lost it, but they had, at the time, they had it for a while.
Here, let me
His
put that
name was
picture up.
Andrew also.
Andrew Doro, yeah. That's Mary.
Yeah,
And
this is
she
Mary,
later married
my
my
Aunt Mary,
brother, Louis,
Uncle Louis.
who was of course your uncle.
Yeah.
And you used to call him, well, he always, you and he always had a thing going to see who would come up with the funniest names, and I think you finally floored him with Chrome Dome. That took care of it from then on.
So,
But he always thought you were great.
Louis was older than you?
Yes, but only 13 months.
Ah,
Yeah.
so did he go to Pickard and Harrison too?
Yes, he went to Pickard, he went to Harrison, and he was lucky enough to go to MIT for the
IIT, no?
Hmm?
IIT,
What did I say?
MIT.
Illinois
Oh,
Institute of...
Illinois
Right,
Institute of
right.
Technology, yeah, as a draftsman. And for a while then, he also worked at International Harvester on the night shift, for extra money. Then when he graduated from IIT, then he started going to various, well, I think he ended up as chief engineer at Raytheon, was it?
Yeah.
Raytheon Corporation.
Raytheon Corporation. And during the
Oh,
war.
he also worked at Traveler Radio.
Yeah,
for a while.
Traveler Radio for a while. Yeah. And
So the neighborhood was pretty homogeneous. There were some other
well,
European.
not really in that little area where we were, from 26th to 22nd, Western to Levitt, was pretty solidly Italian.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there were Lithuanians in there too.
Yes, right around Our
Saint
Lady of
Ilna's.
Vilna. Right around Our Lady of Vilna,
They
on
had
the
a
23rd.
school in there.
Yeah, but actually they were there was
They
more.
were on 23rd Street. St. Hilda was
Yeah.
on 23rd between
Actually.
Oakey and Western.
Mhm. But the Lithuanians actually were 21st and 18th and 19th,
No,
and they would
18th,
come.
those are Polish.
Those were Polish?
Yeah.
Anyway, it was funny because our folks, of course, anyone that was a non-Italian was automatically a Polacca. Everybody was a Polacca. So, but of course, there was no bigotry, really. They didn't.
No,
I
we
think
didn't
there
know
was
what
more.
bigotry was in those days.
Well, I think
People
there
are
was,
people.
yeah, but I think there was more bigotry against us as
Wow.
Dagos. Yeah, in other
Well, I wanted to
neighborhoods.
ask
Those
you
are fighting
about
words
that.
with
In
my
other
Yeah.
father.
neighborhoods.
Yeah, I was
Everybody called
wondering
it-
about that because I remember Dino talking about the trouble he had in school with because
He couldn't
didn't-
speak English,
right,
he had, when he
right.
had come back.
and there must have been times when maybe the teachers didn't respect the children as much
Yeah.
as they should have.
As they should have, I don't think, but,
That wasn't my case. Mrs. Ryan used to stay after school with me
yeah,
to teach me how to speak English.
yeah, and she was the principal.
So-
She
Because I was in her office all the time with fights
Yeah. So it was the other kids that you were fighting with then?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The kid would come up to me and say, hey, you wanna fight? I didn't know what he was saying. I'd say, yeah, pow. And they hit me. And then down to principal's office. Go ahead, that's another story.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have much more than that.
Well, go back then to the Gang de la Corpo Shorto then.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
We had a marvelous time in that particular period of time because we were always more or less together and very, very close.
Well, we had to entertain ourselves.
Yeah.
Who else was?
Years were these?
Yeah.
Now that was, let's see, from probably 32 to about 36 when we were married. Those 4 years, I think we were very
Just
this whole
before
group.
World War II
Yeah,
broke
there was
out.
Ella and Renato and Dan and Laura and Ray and Dora and you and I. We were the diarrhea gang. And we would get together like every Wednesday night. There was Baron Munchausen, remember? On the radio. And we girls would fry up apple fritters and everybody would listen to the radio. There was no television at that time.
Drop donuts.
And yeah, drop donuts and sometimes we'd bake. But we were pretty close. Or play Monopoly or
Charades.
charades,
All kinds
yeah,
of-
we
Now,
did charades.
who were these people? Were they all family or were they?
Well, yes, in a sense, both Renato and Ella and Dan were all second cousins because their mother and my father were first cousins. And again, they were a very close-knit family, and we were kind of part of their family. My father was always very close to Rita and Nonna Gimenti, which, as I said before, I thought was my Nonna. And we had a nice, we didn't realize that we were, let's say, disadvantaged. The boys would go hunting to sell birds later on to the restaurants so that they could take us girls to the show, which was roughly, what was it at that
5
time?
cents.
No, it was
A
more
nickel.
than that.
Yeah, it was a nickel. I remember because we were in line and we were short. Renato had to bail us out.
Well, but no, I think it was about a quarter. You might have been short a nickel.
What are you talking about?
No, it wasn't that far back, you know.
Oh, yes.
It was in days of the Nickelodeon.
Yeah,
Oh, and then,
yeah.
of course, if they were flush, they would take us to the White Castle for nickel hamburgers.
That's
Yes,
right.
that part is true.
That went on for quite a while.
And then one night we went to the one over on Blue Island,
No, it was on Ogden Avenue.
on Ogden
Yeah.
Avenue. And Dino's sitting in with us, girls, the 3 girls.
And
Dora,
Ray and Dan went in.
Yeah, went in. And all of a sudden, we saw these guys going in with guns. And then, of
They got
course,
held
we
up.
saw them go. And I'm saying, Dino, do something. He says, what can I do?
I
You
said,
know?
you're crazy. I'm not going to go in there. A guy could get killed in
Now,
there.
you were at the White Castle when this happened? Oh,
Yeah, outside waiting for them. They wanted to get the
We were in the
hamburger.
car, you know, we were in the car waiting for them to get the.
And they
white-
were being robbed?
Yeah.
Oh, my
Yeah.
God.
And lucky though,
Raymond, it was Raymond
Raymond.
had a $10 bill stuck in his
Real
the watch
flat.
pocket.
Yeah, and they didn't feel that, but they
took
did.
everything
They
else.
took everything.
Well, they robbed the people in the place as well as the place
Sure.
Oh,
itself.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.